Ooh, it's working. Okay. So welcome everyone. So we're going to talk a little bit. We have two guests with us and waiting for a third one. Prague, who is should come soon, and if he doesn't, well, he's having too much fun at Lightbox. So we have Ainsley. So first I introduce myself, and I'm going to actually let everybody introduce themselves. It's better. So my name is Guillaume Retos. I'm the chair of the Entertainment Design Department at ArtCenter, and both Q and Ainsley are ex-students of ArtCenter and of the program more specifically. We're going to talk today about life actually after ArtCenter. There is one, and they will tell you all about it. I'm also curious actually to know how it went. So they spent 4 years in the program. It's a fairly demanding program, I have to say. So they left exhausted, and but they found joy after it. So at least I hope. So up there, I have looping a little bit of their work. So Q and Ainsley and Prague. So here you go, Q, that you can recognize here in the flesh. And I'm going to let Q actually introduce himself. Go for it, Q.
Sure. Hey everyone, is it working? Okay. Hey guys, my name is Qfang. I'm the lead character concept artist on Overwatch 2 now, over at Blizzard Entertainment. I went to ArtCenter for Entertainment Design from 2014, from the fall of 2014 to 2016. I was actually there only for 4 terms, for 2 years. Learned a lot, learned a ton, which I'm sure we'll get into. Before I jumped onto Overwatch, pretty much. And oh, sorry, Guillaume, your screen died.
What am I doing?
But yeah, as Guillaume said, there is indeed a life after ArtCenter. As tough as ArtCenter was, it really kind of prepared me for everything that kind of came up. And yeah, excited to get into it.
Very good. Cool. And Ainsley, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. This works. Hi, everyone. My name is Ainsley Dye. I'm also an ArtCenter graduate. I suppose that goes without saying. I started in fall of 2015 when character animation, the track was specifically still very new, and I graduated in spring of 2019. And I am currently a storyboard artist in television animation. Right now, I'm at Disney TV on a show called Primos. And before that, I've worked at studios like DreamWorks TV and Nickelodeon. So, a little about me.
Thank you. Tim?
Hello, everyone. I am not an alum, so I'll get that out of the way. My name is Tim Campos. I am the Associate Vice President of Admissions at ArtCenter College of Design. I'm sure there's curious in the audience, any prospective students or people who are thinking about maybe attending ArtCenter sometime in their lifetime, in their future. You can raise them high.
Yeah.
Raise them high.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. So I'm here just to also engage in conversation with our alumni, but also I'm happy to take questions later on. I'm sure there'll be questions like, I'm pretty impressed, and I want to know how would I pursue a career in art design, an education art design at ArtCenter. So happy to be here. Thanks, Guillaume.
Thank you, Tim. So we're going to start a little bit. So I have some very personal and disturbing questions for both of you. Let's start by Ainsley. Yeah. When did you start drawing?
When did I start drawing? I mean, I feel like the cliche really is like ever since I could pick up a pencil, but it really was that. I was drawing from a really young age. I just wanted to draw like everything that I saw around me, so I would draw like my dogs, and then I had a really big imagination, and so I was like, okay, I can draw my dogs, but what if my dogs were superheroes, and now I want to draw that, and what if I drew like a comic book about my dogs as superheroes, and I want to do that, and that's so I've been drawing since I was a little kid, but I think it was around like maybe late elementary school where, because I've always really loved movies and shows, like I grew up with animation, and learning that there were like I don't know if you guys know this, but there are people that make animated films and movies and TV shows. And when I found that out, my mind was blown, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be in this world. I have to be one of these people. And so ever since that, I really just committed myself to finding my place in that industry.
Very cool. Thank you, Ainsley. Q?
Man, I mean, same, you know, ever since, I mean, before I could remember. For me, I was born in China, lived in Japan for a little bit. I was really influenced by the kind of pop culture over there. I grew up watching like Ultraman and like Dragon Ball and stuff like that, and loved that stuff, so I wanted to draw it. And then when I moved to the US, you know, I read a lot of manga, so Dragon Ball was a huge influence. Grew up reading manga, watching anime, and that eventually I started playing video games in high school because my mom didn't let me play video games. But when I started doing that, it kind of came together. I wanted to draw and play video games, and eventually it's like, hey, you know, there's people who do both of those things, right? And it actually ties together into one career. And yeah, and I eventually discovered concept art, and you know, it's kind of been that ever since. I've always been drawn to characters. I've always been drawing people, mainly because I didn't do very well at, you know, environments stuff at ArtCenter, but yeah, I love drawing characters, and I always have. Yeah.
So why ArtCenter? Why did you decide to come to ArtCenter specifically?
It's a good question. So my kind of journey was, you know, when by the time I decided I want to do concept art, I was already admitted to like a different art school. I first went to, it was right after high school, I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. I'm not sure if folks are familiar, but went there, I was like, oh, I'll just take some concept art classes. And then it turns out, nope, not the right type of school. So I went there for 3 months, and then my friend at the time from high school was like, hey, you should look at ArtCenter, because he had his eye on ArtCenter since like he was in like elementary school. He's a great transportation design guy. He's working in Honda or something. He also went to ArtCenter. But he said, hey, you should come to ArtCenter with me. And so I quit my other school like within 3 months, and then I applied, and then miraculously was able to get admitted, because I think, you know, looking through the history of the school, all the folks who made my favorite characters, my favorite games, it was ubiquitous. Everybody came from ArtCenter, and you know, I wanted to be one of those people. You know.
Very good, thank you. Ainsley?
Yeah.
Because you showed some courage. You came into a program that was young.
Yeah, I think it was the first term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm from around the area. I grew up right around here, and my exposure to ArtCenter was actually from when I was a kid, because when I was around elementary school, my mom and I went to this, like, I think it was a Easter sort of like celebration at a nearby park, and they were doing all of these raffles for these different prizes. And one of them was for a free class at ArtCenter for Kids, which was a class program that ArtCenter puts on for younger kids. And my mom knew that I really loved to draw, and she was always really supportive. And so we put in our name to that raffle, and we won the raffle. So that's literally how I got exposed to ArtCenter for the first time, by a lovely stroke of luck. And I just remember going to those classes and being on that campus and seeing all of these students running around with their work and seeing all the work up on the walls, and just being like, oh my gosh, this is that world that I wanted to be a part of. I need to be a part of this. And so into high school, I was taking the ArtCenter for Teens classes they have. And at the same time, though, I knew that I wanted to go into animation, and there wasn't like a solid animation program at ArtCenter at the time. So I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then in another very big stroke of luck, the year I graduated from high school, they opened up a character animation track in entertainment design, and I took it as a sign. I devoted myself to the portfolio. I put everything into it. I received so much help from admissions at ArtCenter as well. Those guys are saints. And they let me in. They let me come. And yeah, that's how I got to ArtCenter.
Very good. Is there something that and it's a question to both of you, but I'm going to continue with Ainsley right now, but is there something in your childhood, besides the fact that you drew since you could hold a pencil, you know, one film or one thing that really triggered, you thought, you know, do you remember that? Is there a turning point?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was a kid, I would go to, if any of you guys are from around the area, there's a theater called the El Capitan over in Hollywood. And I would go there a lot with my mom when I was a kid, and because I was a huge movie kid. And there was one time where they were doing a book signing right next to the theater, and it was for a book called The Alchemy of Animation by Don Hahn. And I went and I got the book, and I was really nervous. I didn't want to go up because I was a really shy kid. My mom was like, no, you should introduce yourself to the nice man. And so I went and talked to the nice man, Mr. Hahn, and I received the book from him, and that next week I got super sick. I got a really bad cold, and I was home from school for a couple days. And those days I just perused that book from beginning to end over and over. And it's a book that's like really, it just kind of lays out the entire pipeline of animation. So it goes over like animators and storyboard artists and character designers and background designers and all of that. And that was really kind of when I realized, oh my gosh, this is a thing, and I want to be a part of this. And yeah, I think that was really a really big turning point for me. And then I mean, there are films that I grew up with, like Lilo and Stitch and The Iron Giant and films like that, where I was just so, I fell so in love with the way that we can communicate with an audience across the screen, working in film or TV. And I just really wanted to be a part of that. So yeah, I hope that's a good answer.
It's a great answer. So Q, I'll get back to you in a second. We have Prague that was coming from under the table. I don't know where he came from. But Prague, can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Sorry, I'm late. Hello, my name is Prague Wang. I'm a hard surface concept designer at Respawn Entertainment. I joined ArtCenter at fall 2016 and graduated at 2011.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So Prague, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Ainsley and Q. Why ArtCenter? What did you pick ArtCenter?
At first, I didn't know there is a major called entertainment design. I was looking for industrial design or probably architectural design majors. But then I found this school has a major that let me draw things for video games. I was like, okay, that's it. This is the place I want to go.
Very good, very good. And is there a moment in your life where you realized you wanted to do entertainment and that flipped you? A turning point where you thought, okay.
Like the turning point is when I figured out there is the existence of this major department.
Very good, very good. Q?
Yeah, I think probably, I played a lot of League of Legends in high school, and I really loved the, that was back when they were starting to refresh kind of their splash arts and rework their programmer art into like actual art. They were hiring artists, and there were a couple of artists that I just absolutely loved the work of, and I think that was the moment where I was like, where did these guys go? Oh crap, they all went to ArtCenter one way or another. So I think that's what kind of sealed the deal for me. I wanted to be. I remember writing in the essay, the entrance essay, was like, I want to be like just like them. I want one of my designs to be played by this many people in the world in a video game by so many people. Yeah, that was the dream.
Yeah, that's extraordinary, and it's I have to say it's a good moment to be in the entertainment business because it's been growing and growing over the past really 20 years. I mean, I remember when I did art school, which was 30 years ago. Oh my God. There was no internet yet. There was no CG, and so from the beginning of 3D to now, with streaming and everything, I mean the whole landscape changed, and game is now making more money than movies are. Which is quite impressive. That milestone is important in the business. So you all picked a good moment to do this. I have another question. So just about ArtCenter and how was life at ArtCenter? Maybe we start with Prague. How was your life at ArtCenter?
I was struggling a lot when I joined the school at first term because my English was even more broken than now, and I couldn't understand lots of homework assignments and doing wrong things everywhere. and I barely sleep like 3 hours a day. But later on, everything keeps running smoother, so it gets better.
Yeah,
Especially towards to graduation, I start to know, okay, there are lots of companies I can choose. There are offers coming to my email box. So yeah, everything gets better and better.
Very good. Yeah, I have to say that the first term in the concept track is tough. Even when you don't have a language barrier, it's tough for everybody. So, Q, what was your experience at the school?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I didn't have a language barrier, and it was like the hardest thing I had to ever do up to that point. There was a point where, like I think the last 2 weeks of first term, and this is gonna be really gross, but that's where this is headed.
Go
but,
for it.
I think we, like, not just me, right? A bunch of us came to school like 2 weeks, like last 2 weeks. We didn't leave until the last week, so no going home, no showering. You know, I think we worked 12 hours, slept 1 hour. It's not like that anymore. You know, Guillaume's done a good job.
We tried to alleviate it a little bit.
This was before Guillaume came in and kind of made it much more streamlined and targeted. But you know, it was also, I think that what stuck around since that time was the discipline. I think that's, I've had to say that was probably one of the best things I learned from ArtCenter. I'm somebody who doesn't have a lot of discipline naturally, so understanding, okay, I have to kind of limit my time, and like, also one of the other important lessons was like trying to have a high standard for myself, even if it's something that I've never done before. Things like that, you know, through the hours of not being able to sleep and through all the all-nighters, it was very much like worth it. In fact, yeah, I think I actually took a little bit of that to actually learn that, I think. But yeah, I will say, like, working life is, maybe I'm skipping ahead, but working is a lot easier than ArtCenter, so, you know.
Yeah, that's what, so my first production designer in the US when I was a young concept artist was John Bell, an alumni from ArtCenter also, and from transportation design. And when I asked him to talk to me about the school, he said exactly word for word what you just said, which is work life is much easier than my ArtCenter years. So it kind of, you know, and he was at the time, he just art directed Jurassic Park, but it was way easier than ArtCenter. So you're good. Anyway, Ainsley, how was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I really have to third that point of the work-life experience being easier than ArtCenter. I remember on my first job I started as a trainee and then became a storyboard artist on a show called Trollstopia at DreamWorks TV. I remember some of the first assignments that I ever got from my director. You know, he would give me my work and he'd be like, okay, this is what I need done. And then it'd be like, okay, so do you want that by this time? You know, it'd be like the end of the day or something. And he'd pause and he'd be like, no, Ainsley, you can take more time than that. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean, ArtCenter really, really does prepare you for the workforce. I think in terms of, yeah, I mean, time management is so important, and it's something that it really instills in you. And I think also just the, you know, all of the instructors are working industry professionals. One of my instructors was is a 2D animator over at Disney, Randy Haycock. And I mean, they're so knowledgeable on what the industry currently needs and so willing to have these like one-on-one communications with you because the class sizes are pretty small. So you really get to have a lot of interaction with your teachers. And yeah, I mean, to one of the earlier points, I think it really does teach you that you have to hold yourself to a high standard, and it instills in you that sort of ethic, like, you know, to put all of yourself into your project and to put all of yourself into your passion. And I think there's just something so special about being in this environment with all of these other people that have the same passion as you and want to do the same thing as you do, but then also other people from other majors. I mean, even just the concept design students that I would see, it was so inspiring to see their work, but you're also there with, you know, transportation design students and illustration students, and it's just this immersive artistic experience that I really treasured. It was really communal for sure. It was definitely an adjustment, definitely a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, it was fantastic.
And up until your graduation, because your film is at the same time very personal and
Oh yeah.
and really, really great.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Actually, Ainsley was the first graduate of the program.
I was.
So you know,
Yay.
it's you will forever be a bit special.
Oh.
And Guillaume, I'll add some additional context, and thank you all for sharing your careers after Art Center and kind of what it was like, but also just in case there's anyone in the audience thinking about, well, gosh, it sounds like, I don't know if I can do that. As the person in admissions that's reviewing portfolios and accepting students too, along with Guillaume and our track directors from our programs, I just wanted to acknowledge that everyone, I'm sure they can contest to this, everyone starts from like a different skill set too. We have very specific portfolio requirements for all of our specialized programs, but we in admissions offer one-on-one advisement with students. We help you build a competitive portfolio. I always say, if you want to be at Art Center, we want you to be at Art Center as well. The best students that come into our program are those that are open to feedback. If you come to us and you're just like, nope, I learned this skill, like I think I'm the best that there is, it's like, you might be the best that there is in your small circle of network, but you also are then coming into Art Center where you're surrounded with a lot of talented people, and it should be encouraging, not anything that discourages anyone, but we really do work with students and making sure you're putting your best work forward, and take our feedback. If we tell you that digital painting could use a little bit more of, some appreciation with lighting, give it a more cinematic approach, we really want you to take our feedback and put your best portfolio forward, because one, that could potentially, hopefully, get you accepted into the program, but then at the same time, make you eligible for scholarship as well. And so as long as you're open to our feedback, I think that's the best type of student who will appreciate Art Center, because it just doesn't end with admissions. It's once you become a student, you're now in class with your faculty who are working professionals. And if you're open to their feedback as well, you're going to continue growing. You should come to Art Center open to that learning experience, that you're going to continue growing as an artist, as a designer. And it's, at Art Center, we always say our motto is learn to create, influence, change, because we definitely, all of our alumni are changing the world, whether it's through designing video games, animating, it doesn't matter, all of our programs, we're definitely sending alumni out into the world to really change things up, whether it's through visual storytelling or through designing the shoes that we wear, the vehicles that we drive. We have a little bit of something for everybody.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yes.
And I have to also give it to Ainsley. I think Ainsley did a really great job. She was one of our tour guides and mentors at her high school, so I think that contributed towards her appreciation of it. So thanks, Ainsley.
It was my pleasure.
Very good. So, so a little bit of what happened after you left Art Center. So you graduated, which we were very happy about, because it's always, I mean, for me, giving the diplomas on stage, it's a joy, I have to say. So tell us a little bit of what happened after you graduated. You slept a bit. And then what? Ainsley, go for it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely sleeping. Yeah, I mean, so when you graduate Art Center, you participate in something called a grad show. It's actually held right over.
It's here. It's
yeah.
across in the exhibition hall is our grad show and the graduation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very familiar venue. But yeah, so basically you get a wall and you get to set up all of your favorite, your best work throughout your entire course at Art Center. And they invite, well, there's like a family and friends day, so your friends can come and celebrate your work. But then they also invite industry professionals and recruiters to come around and look at everyone's stuff, and you can network. And it was a fantastic opportunity. And yeah, I was the first person that graduated from the character animation track, so it was like the entertainment design section, because it's all the majors, was just all of these like amazing, incredible concept artists, and then there's me with my little storyboards like, hi, please talk to me. And I got to meet a lot of folks, and I got to talk to some folks from DreamWorks TV, who were telling me like, yeah, we're starting this trainee program. We haven't done it in a while, but we're going to be starting it up, and we'd love to talk to you more about it. And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. And so I kept in touch with them about it, and we kind of talked back and forth, and I tweaked my portfolio, added some last minute things after I graduated, and I sent it in, and yeah, I got a couple interviews, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm liking this, let's see where it goes. And then I got, very fortunately, got accepted into the trainee program at DreamWorks TV. But yeah, I mean, that was a connection that I made at the grad show. And I also met some other companies, but that was the one that really panned out. But, you know, I wouldn't have been able to talk to them without that experience. And then, yeah, I was working at DreamWorks TV. I learned so much. And like we were all saying before, I mean, that art center experience really did prepare me for the workload. And then after that, I moved my way up to a storyboard artist on that same show. And then I was on that show throughout pandemic, actually. And then after that, I found my way over at Nickelodeon by talking to some folks and per a recommendation. That was very nice. I was there on a show called Big Nate for a while. And then just this last May, I was rolling off of that, and I found my way over to Disney TV on a show on Primos that's not out yet, but it's going to be really good. But yeah, I mean, it all just started from those connections that I made at the grad show, which was incredible.
In the fall grad show, we graduate students fall, spring, and summer 3 times a year here at the convention center. So the public viewing is Saturday, December 17th from 12 to 5 here in the Pasadena Convention Center, the fall grad show.
Thank you, Tim, and it's super nice, actually. Yeah. Thank you, Ainsley. Q, how was it when you came out of Art Center? What happened?
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to graduate, unfortunately. I was 4th term, so I was 2 years in, and you know, I would say I was like struggling a little bit in 4th term. And you know, the program is very demanding, and I had incredibly talented like classmates, which week after week putting your work next to theirs gets, you know, it can be demotivating, but also, you know, I also knew that I'm in it for the long run. I'm here at Art Center, you know, I'm in it for the long haul. But I think during that summer of 2016, I, you know, took what I learned. Basically, I was able to kind of, you know, take that and put into a project where I just kind of let myself have my own space to do project. It was all the things that, you know, Art Center is an awesome place where you get to expand horizontally a lot, right? Like you get to try all these different things. And one of the challenges there is that because there's so many studio classes, you have a limited time to tackle everything, which is a great kind of experience for kind of dealing with, you know, seeing how you can take things to a finish as fast as you can. And I didn't realize how much that helped me until I kind of came out and started working. But you know, I kind of took those things that I learned from these classes, and I kind of gave myself the time and the space without the pressure of, you know, working with you know, these incredibly talented, or you know, competing with my incredibly talented classmates. And I made a project, and that was when Overwatch first launched, and they hit me up through ArtStation, and I was able to kind of land an interview. And that interview, I definitely don't think I would have survived without all the presentations that we do at Art Center. It's all those same skills that I kind of applied to the interview. And I to this day, I find that as you know, as kind of somebody who now interviews associates coming in, students, especially Art Center students, but you know, anybody who kind of goes through like this kind of training, able to talk about their designs really clearly. You know, you really gain the vocabulary, really have the kind of mental palace of how to talk about design locked down, right? And that was incredibly helpful. You know, after I started working, I entered the Overwatch team as an associate concept artist right when we launched. One of the biggest things was, you know, I said earlier, was like, man, this is so much more chill than art. Like this, the pacing is so crazily different. And I almost had I had a little bit of like a crisis for a little bit. I'm like, man, like what do I do next, right? I think as a student, you put so much emphasis on getting that first job. You're just like a rabid dog trying to get that first job, and then you get it, and you're like, you know, what's next, right? And I think that's something that everybody has to figure out after Art Center. But you know, I've been on that team ever since. I started as the most junior member of that team. I'm now the person who's been there the longest. I'm the lead of that team now, which is crazy journey. But yeah,
the team is here actually, huh?
Oh yeah, I got a couple of folks on the team here, 3 artists. But yeah, a lot of that, like I said, attributes to the kind of level of discipline and the connections I made at Art Center. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add something about that, which is because I'm French originally. I came here to work on a first film, which was Ants at DreamWorks. It was actually the first CG film that DreamWorks made. My production designer was from ArtCenter. My art director, Kendall Cronkite, who was actually in a room participating in a Women in Animation panel on the other side, was my art director. Two of my coworkers came from ArtCenter too. So I was in the middle of ArtCenter, even though I just arrived here working in the entertainment business. And then at one point when we hired people, when we, at DreamWorks, I became production designers, and I was hiring people. About 80% of the people working at DreamWorks came from ArtCenter. So, so that's why I'm chair there now. So, because it's an extraordinary community also that actually does revolve around, and it's one of the things I say to the entering students is be nice to your friends, because because you're going to be lifelong partners, really, most likely, and it's very true.
Yeah, that's hilarious that you say that, because when I first joined Blizzard's like an island down in Orange County. They'd never heard of ArtCenter before I joined, and then over the years, I think my team is now mostly ArtCenter. Like I hired all my friends out of ArtCenter.
So we're invading the world slowly but surely. Yeah,
Exactly.
very good. Prague, after ArtCenter, what happened?
So as an international student, the first thing I need to work on is my visa. So I have to work with the school, with the company to figure out all the documents and papers. And luckily, the entertainment major gives us 3 years OPT, which makes it's much easier to apply for a working visa. Before I graduate, Respawn Entertainment already contacted me 2 years before I graduate. So they want me to, they were like, I saw your work, you like giant robot, and we making games about giant robots. How about we make more giant robot together? And I was very sad about the international student identity, because I have to graduate before I start working. So I told them, I will contact you after I graduate. And luckily, the exact same week when I graduate, I saw the art director at Respawn posting on Facebook that they are looking for more concept artists. So I went to ask him, how about, here's my portfolio, and he arranged the interview with the HR. So I joined the company. And during the interview, I keep talking about how much I love giant robots and how much I love their Titanfall game. And half hour later, they told me you're actually interviewing for a Star Wars game, not Titanfall. But still, it's Star Wars. I like it.
Very cool. Very cool. So just to explain a little bit about the department, specifically the entertainment design department, because team oversees all the departments at ArtCenter.
Yes.
I'm just the chair of one. There are 11 of them, 11 or 12.
11 undergraduate programs and 10 graduate programs.
Yeah. So
and Guillaume's program, entertainment design, has 3 specific programs.
Exactly, and that's one of the things, so I come from animation as a production designer. I was 20 years at DreamWorks and continued designing films, but it's an extremely collaborative job that we do. I mean, we do interact with a lot of people, and when Q was saying, the presentation and talking to people and explaining your design and being able to explain why you did what you did and why you designed what you designed is actually maybe the most important thing. I mean, drawing well and painting well is the base. But then your professional life is really revolving around all that social interaction that happens on a project, because it's extremely human what we do, and so to kind of foster and build that collaboration, we started the animation program that Ainsley was the first graduate of, and then we already had a concept art program that was very strong. And then we added a game design program recently also. So we had our first graduate actually this year. So the idea of the department as a whole is actually to, as you go higher and higher in terms, is actually to collaborate with the game students. So the concept artists are making concepts for the game that the game students are conceiving. They're also helping design the films that the animation students are doing. So it's basically built now to work like a little ecosystem where everybody's helping everybody. And like Ainsley was saying, we also have students coming in from other departments wanting to be, helping on projects. So those last few terms of your career at ArtCenter are becoming more and more team-based, because really what you learn when you are in the job is that it's a team sport. And individualism, like for example, accepting to take notes and being open to notes and remarks, is actually really important because that's how all of this works. So I'm going to open it up soon. Tim, you wanted to say something?
Yeah,
Go
sure.
for it.
I think I'll just add a couple things that were mentioned just to give you additional context. I think many of the things that were mentioned in terms of like setting up for career. I mean, having faculty who are working in industry and then teaching in our classroom throughout all of our different disciplines, that's like a critical aspect of an arts and education. So we want to provide you with that technical skill and professional application, not just learn how to do something and then graduate and say like, I have the degree, like what do I do now? But actually have a technical skill and a meaningful professional application, because you form those mentorship opportunities with your faculty, your professors who become your mentors as well. We have, as Ainsley mentioned, we have very small classroom experiences, average class size of 9, 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you definitely get to know your classmates. You get to know your faculty, who again become your peers. And we want to make sure that those faculty are in current industry and have that current industry knowledge and understanding. And that if it's through entertainment design, as an example, they have Guillaume as their leader, also instilling what the curriculum is looking like as well, to make sure that it's modeled after the industry. And that's across all of our disciplines. The other note I'll say is in terms of our career and professional development, you can't come to ArtCenter and just learn the technical skill, but also, again, that professional aspect is through our career and professional development, making sure that you have access to the typical stuff. Yes, things like resume building, cover letters, writing workshops. Yes, we do that. Every other place hopefully is doing that, but we do so much more. Job talks, career talks. We bring industry to ArtCenter. We do the recruitment programming around grad show, where we bring the recruiters to check out our graduating student work. We have internships. We always like to say, if you obtain an internship through ArtCenter, like through us at ArtCenter, we can guarantee that internship experience is hands-on art design related experience. You're not running someone's coffee order. You're not running copies. You're definitely getting that hands-on experience that you're looking for, that you would hope for in an internship. And oftentimes those internship opportunities become potential career opportunities for our students as well. So I can go on and on. I'll save the admissions spiel, but also I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has them regarding more about like the admissions process, portfolio stuff, what we're looking for in portfolios. Again, we have 11 undergraduate programs and 10 graduate programs.
Thank you. So we're going to go to Q&A very quickly, but I have one last question for the three of you. I'm going to start by Prague. So you're the next generation in entertainment design. I'm old news. You're the future. Where do you see the industry you work in right now and the company you work in going in the future?
Definitely more free games, but microtransaction in the game. Also, I know many companies trying VR and AR games. That's also going to be the future. Yeah.
Very good. Q, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll speak more on just this industry side from like a work point of view, from like professionals' point of view. I think this was like 10, 15 years ago. AAA studios for games, AAA meaning like the top kind of end, highest budget studio games. AAA studios like Riot Games, Blizzard, EA and stuff like that, and that was kind of the end goal for the industry veterans. And those guys, they were still in their prime, and at this point, I think a lot of those guys have moved on to smaller studios. They're doing new things. There's new opportunities opening up in the art field. And what that means, I think, is there's a lot more opportunity actually for, fresh kind of students out of school to go work. I think when, I left school to work, at a AAA studio, it was more rare back then. Same thing, I think Prague was one of those folks as well. It was more rare. Nowadays, it's a lot more common, and it's that those opportunities are opening up a lot more, because as you get the top layer of professionals kind of moving into kind of new territory, they're opening up a new frontier. The average kind of, or I guess like the AAA studio has now become not the final goal, but just like a kind of like it could kind of be a stepping stone. So it actually opens up a lot more opportunity, especially if you come to a place like ArtCenter where you can form those skills and also those connections. So it's a lot more possible nowadays.
Very good. Ainsley?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a rather tumultuous time for television animation right now. There's a lot of things going on. But I also think in a lot of ways it's a really exciting time too. Like just even, my show is a very personal show for our showrunner. If any of you guys came to the showrunners panel yesterday, my showrunner's Natasha Klein, she was on that. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for people to tell their own stories, or stories that are really personal to them, or stories from their own experiences. There are so many new voices in the field, and I think that's really only going to continue. And I think, we're seeing smaller scale projects getting off the ground. We're seeing studios taking a chance on individually created projects. We're seeing a lot of very heartfelt shows getting greenlit. And there's just all of these ways to get in. So even when things are a little wild, I still think it's a really exciting time, because there's just so much you can do, and there's so, you can tell the heartfelt stories that you want to tell. There's so many avenues for it, and I think, my experience at ArtCenter really taught me to stay true to my own personal voice, and to make those connections with people that have an interest in hearing new voices and to hearing new people that are coming into the industry. And just having those connections really helped me get where I am. And I think, so I think it's an exciting time. So I hope that just continues, but I very much think it will, so.
Very good. Thank you, Ainsley. One last question, and then we go to open mic more. And I'm going to start with Prague again. What advice would you give to young artists who want to follow in your footsteps and work in the entertainment industry? So I know one answer you could give, which is build giant robots, because
That works.
So that works, exactly. I mean, I don't know if you've seen what Prague has done. It's just extraordinary. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So he actually did build a real giant robot. So anyway, go for it.
So if you're looking for jobs, my advice would be try to work on something you really like. Like when you build your portfolio, it doesn't have to be follow any specific story or redesign another game. I know lots of students do that, but actually the best way to create best works is work on something you really have your passion in it, and that's how you're gonna spend more time and more effort automatically and make everything looks as good as you can. Also, all the companies are expanding, especially for AAA game projects. So they are looking for more and more people who can work on specific things like weapon specialist and or someone really good at character or someone really good at environment. Instead of being okay with everything, you want to be extremely good about specific thing. Just like when you look for a very decent ramen You do not go to a restaurant that can sell everything, all the Chinese food, American food, Italian food. You do not go to a restaurant and sell everything. You go to a specific restaurant that only sells ramen. That's where to look for the best ramen. And same for artists. The companies are looking for people that can be extremely good about the specific things. At least that's what I feel.
Very good, thank you. Q?
Yeah, Prague actually took one. I was going to say, yeah, specialize over generalization. I think, yeah, like 15 years ago, I think most places are looking for specialized, but now, yeah, like, generalized, but now, yeah, specialized. And what that comes down to specifically, which I can go into, is deciding, right? You know, is it animation, viz dev industry, or is it games? Is it films, right? Are you trying to do characters or environments? Props kind of fit into either category. You're doing stylized, you're doing live action. And those things aren't easy to decide as you're a student, right? The hardest thing is, you know, everything is cool, right? As a student, you just love art, everything is cool. It's overwhelming. It's like information overload. But I think the way to work through that, and you kind of just trust the process, the more you see, you know, the more you desensitize yourself to things that you think are cool. Not that they're not cool anymore, but, you know, the more of that stuff you see, the higher your standard becomes. And at a certain point, you start to be able to focus on, like Prague said, what you actually really enjoy. And that's what you want to kind of specialize in. Now, not that there aren't folks who are good at a lot of stuff, but if your goal is, you know, be specific, right? If your goal is to get a job or work in a specific studio, I'd say, you know, the best way, easiest, fastest way to get there is to specialize. Yeah.
Thank you. Ainsley?
Yeah, I mean, I really have to third that. I think specialization is so important in a portfolio. Like, if you want to go into story, if you think like, hey, that sounds really interesting, commit to it. Like, pump out storyboards, try new sequences, try new things, try different genres. Like, maybe work on something. If you feel more comfortable with comedy, maybe work on like a drama piece. Work on your acting. Like, honestly, I think. If you're interested in story, taking an acting class is incredibly helpful because a lot of storyboarding is performance. We're actors with a pencil, you know. And so having that experience as well, just even outside of the realm of art, I think is incredibly helpful. And also for pitching, just to really kind of, again, emphasize what's already been said about like talking about your work and the importance of that. You have to be a good pitcher. You have to sell yourself truly in every aspect of your career. And yeah, I mean, I think truly just, I like kind of what I was also saying in one of the last answers, you know, this industry is really looking for personal stories right now. So don't just try to do what you think the industry wants. Like, don't just try to put out work that's like a show that's currently out there right now. You know, draw from your own experiences, draw from what's personal to you, because I promise you, the more specific you get, the more heartfelt you get, people are going to resonate with that. It's going to connect with other folks. And that's what people want to see. They want to see the work that only you can do, because there is work that only you can do, because only you have had that experience in your life. And so the more you can cultivate that, the more you can bring that out into your work and into your sequences, it's really just going to set you apart. So I think, like, yeah, drawing from yourself, being honest and genuine, I think is really the best thing you can do as an artist in general, but as a story artist for sure. Also watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and yeah, you know, stay inspired, stay hungry, I think.
Very good. Tim, any last word, because before we go to the Q&A?
Yeah, for any aspiring, you know, potential students who are thinking about ArtCenter, our alumni are all over the world doing everything. I said it earlier, but it's true. Our alumni are designing the shoes you wear, the vehicles you drive, the media that you consume, the products that we use. They're everywhere. And so I would just say, you know, if you envision yourself at potentially, you know, taking the next step towards a career in art and design, hopefully it starts at ArtCenter. And just know in admissions and my team, we're always excited to talk to students from all walks of life. Whether you're in high school, out of high school, you're thinking about transferring, you're like, I'm 40 years old and I want to go into and be a concept artist, we'll talk to you too, because it doesn't matter. It's for everybody, and we want to work with you. And so, you know, take that first step. My staff and I are very friendly. We want to connect with you, one-on-one appointments. I think Ainsley mentioned that. You had your experience with us in admissions as well. And so, yeah, It all starts with the conversation. So we're happy to engage with anybody who's just thinking about taking that next step. Even if you're just doodling at the moment, that's okay. Let's talk. Let's see what are some of the other things you need to work on to then, take it to the next level so that you're ready, and we'll let you know when to apply.
Thank you, Tim. I have to say we've had one recent graduate who was he was 40 years old and a nuclear physicist, and he came back to do concept art, and he's working as a concept artist now, and he's super good at it. Okay, so let's open the mic to everybody and to questions. I'm going to put the mic there, and if you want to ask questions, please come in the middle and line up. You don't have to, but you can.
I actually have like 2 questions for Qfang, actually. First of all, what is your like proudest design when working on Overwatch or like any game in general?
Ooh, it's a tough one. And I try to, like I think some artists out there, like, they have a really refined process with really good fundamentals, and they can, just kind of pump it out. I struggle a little bit with every piece, and because on purpose, right? Like I try to make something new. So the cliche answer is I try to make every piece, the next piece, the most proud piece. But if I had to pick, like my first hero, that was a special moment, Sigma, that I designed. That was the moment where I achieved that dream that I had, cross that off the bucket list of making a character that is in a AAA game that everybody gets to play.
And question number 2. What is ArtCenter actually looking for exactly in their portfolio? Like what things are like art pieces I can like mark down so I can like transfer or like...
Sure, that would be me. For what particular program are you thinking about?
Maybe like character design and animation.
So specifically like animation?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have 11 programs. There's 11 different portfolios, and the entertainment design program is a Bachelor of Science. Game design, concept, animation, those are all 3 completely different portfolios. So all the information's on our website, but quickly for an animation portfolio, 3 things to keep in mind. We're looking for an original story pitch. Keep it simple, 3 to 4 sentences, a paragraph. Based on that story pitch, we want to see 3 character designs. Show me what your characters look like when they're excited, when they're happy. We're really focusing on performance expression. So 3 character designs, and then 5 illustrative keyframes. So what are 5 pivotal moments in your original story? In addition to that, I want to see about 5 to 6, hopefully from life figure drawings. So we understand with the pandemic, not everybody has access to figure drawing in life, but if you do, figure drawing, and about maybe 5 to 6 pages from a sketchbook, a traditional sketchbook, not digital. We'll probably see digital in the other part of your portfolio. Definitely want to see that you're keeping, traditional drawing, drawing from life. So it's on our website, so feel free to look it up as well, so you don't have to like write it all down. And then we want to see at least 2 clips of actual moving work. So if it's like 10 seconds of, a man walking, great, and then it's like a, 30-second minute clip of something else, perfect. We're not looking for anything specific other than that you're actually interested in bringing things to life, performance. And so if you have 2D, 3D, if you have even stop motion, any of that is fine, but we want to see at least 2 of those clips. If you don't submit anything that's moving, we're gonna pass you over. So.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Hi, so this is a question for like any of you. Do you have any like regrets that you had like either during school or like during like when you guys started working that you wish you could have done differently, or like anything that you truly wish that you like did something different, I guess?
I regret about being lazy sometimes and produce really bad work, and they end up in the game. So that's one of the reasons I never play Apex. I don't want to see my bad work.
Oh, I feel that. Yeah, I'm pretty much, right. Same reason I don't play much Overwatch nowadays, but I think in school specifically, that I think applies if you're a student. Like, what I regret is I was not, like, I did not feel like going out and talking to people because I felt like, oh, I'm a student, I don't want to waste your time. this is the best time to talk to while you're a student. It gets much harder actually if you're like a professional, because then like, you know, if I'm as a student, you can bring your portfolio to somebody and you'd be like, hey, can I get some? Because everybody's been there. Everybody knows the hustle. Everybody's done the grind, right? That's your calling card, right? As a professional, it's a little more awkward for me to go to somebody and be like, hey, can you review my portfolio? What, like, it's like, okay, yeah, what do you want, right? Like, it's not, you can still do it, it's a little more awkward, right? But I think take advantage of your student status and go talk to people, because maybe you feel like it's awkward, but like there's many students out there, everybody, like, take advantage of that. Like, and when you lose it, you know, it's gone. Like, you know, so take advantage while you still can.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to steal that answer, but I think it's a very similar one for me. I'm a very shy person by nature, and especially when I was a student, like even if we had like a Q&A from some industry professionals that would come, there's always a part of me that was like, oh my God, any question that I would ask would be horrible. I'd be thrown out. I'd be laughed at. I would be banished from ArtCenter. It'd be horrible. And like, yeah, I mean, now when I talk to students or perspectives in the industry, prospective people that want to get into the industry, I'm always like, no, please ask all of the questions. Like, you are in such a perfect opportunity to ask questions. They can be, you know, you can ask me if the sky's blue. Like, just ask me questions. And so I definitely think that was something that, like, if I could go back and do it again, I would take more advantage of. Yeah, again, not to steal the answer, but.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question just for anyone in general. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the role that social media plays in getting a job after graduation, and then any advice you would have for the pieces that you would showcase, and then also what platforms most attention should be given to.
I'm going to steal this if you guys don't mind to start. I was just recently reviewing a bunch of portfolios, so just to give you a very direct, clear look at what this looks like, at least from a game studio point of view. I was looking for, you know, a specific hiring position. We opened up, got about 382 applicants. I had about 2 hours between meetings to review all of them. So immediately, throughout everything, I filtered out anybody who didn't have a website. So you must have a website, social media website. You gotta have it. If you don't have it, I'm not gonna bother Googling your name, pulling it into Google, and then figuring out which person you are out of all of the people who have the same names. So that immediately cut down to like a third of the applicants, which is pretty crazy. I'd expect people to have, you know, a website. Second thing, in terms of which platform. So if you're a concept artist, ArtStation's the best. Are you a concept artist?
No.
Okay, that's all right. I think if you're dealing with images, I'd say just in general, ArtStation, if you're a concept artist, is the best. Or like Behance is really good. I know everybody likes to do personal websites. I don't recommend it because it's all different. And you know, I've seen personal websites where I click in, it doesn't load, or I click in and it's like, welcome, hi, here's who I am, and then there's like 5 seconds of loading. I'm trying to go to my next meeting, right? And the recruiters have even more people to go through. So I would not do a personal website, and it's largely unnecessary. We're there to see your work, and within 5 seconds, any kind of discipline, maybe, I don't know if you agree with, you know, with VizDev stuff, but like within 10 seconds, I can more or less tell if this person is going to be a good fit.
Absolutely. And
then I filter down from there, right? So the greetings don't matter, it doesn't add to it. In fact, it just kind of takes away from it. In fact, I would stick with, and out of the social medias, I saw Twitter links, I saw Instagram, I saw, you know, Behance and ArtStation. I don't recommend Twitter because it's a vertical scroll. I can't see all your images at once. I see 1 or 2, and I'm an old man now, so I don't use much Twitter. So when I scroll down, it asks me to log in, and then, you know, well, if they don't have anything else, I'm probably going to click away, unless I'm super interested in the first piece I see, right? So Instagram is okay, but it does give you a limited view of your image. It's square, it's kind of small, can't go in, so it's okay, right? But I think if you're a concept artist, use ArtStation. It's just super easy. If you're anything else, I'd say Behance is a great place as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I have 2 questions. Oh, I wrote them down. Oh, where did they go?
I love your jacket.
Thank you. What would you, this is for everybody, what would you all say your art level was at before you went to ArtCenter?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can start that one. I was a scrappy high school kid. I had not used a tablet until I started at college. everything before then had been me noodling around with like watercolor and markers. I was very early on. I've always really loved, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but like I've always really loved being the least skilled people in any room I'm in, or least skilled person, because I think like there's so much you can learn from other people if you have that like humility and you're willing to put yourself in those positions. Like it's uncomfortable, it's spooky, but there's so much that you can learn just by being open. Yeah, and I mean I think that was one of the most helpful things for ArtCenter for me, because I was in I was in these classes of people that had more experience than me, or had taken more classes than I had, or were just rock stars that had this incredible work, and I was just like, oh, I'm not worthy. But I learned so much through that, and to me that was one of the most rewarding things. So I kind of take pride in that I wasn't super far along when I started, because I felt like through having that exposure, I saw my work grow exponentially over time.
I can go. Yeah. I mean, I was, not anywhere close to like being like a notable person in my class. I had a really strong term at ArtCenter, which I do think plays a lot into, how your career goes after that as well. We had incredibly talented students, at least, and then I was kind of just hanging on to their coattails. I learned a lot from my classmates. But yeah, like that's more or less. I think everybody coming in is like, you're probably the best artist in your high school art class or whatever. That's when being good at art, just in general, you're a good artist. You're just good at drawing, right? You can shade something, right? That's the level at high school. But coming in, then you realize, oh, some folks are from, like from China. They had like previous education. They're here for like, to get into the industry for visa, stuff like that. They're already like professionals. And you're like, oh crap, like, all right, you get humbled, and then you like, just like Ainsley said, you kind of start from there week after week competing with those guys. Yeah, and I still don't know if I hold up, you know what I mean? But I think that's exactly that's where you want to be. Yeah.
And before I joined ArtCenter, I was just a high school student from China, but not like he said. I was just running away from Chinese high school exams, so I applied ArtCenter. For me, art was just a hobby, and I have no professional background. I had an argument with my mom when I was like 12. She's a art teacher, and I was like, no, I will never learn art from you. I will just be a scientist. But I regret about that.
Thank you. I have another question.
We might be at time now, I think. I don't know if we have to leave. At time. One more question, sure.
Okay. Do you have any tips on making time for like your passions and like a project or something, like an art project, while you're, a really busy student? Like, for example, my like average sleep time is 6 hours, so
That's
survive,
good.
right? Yeah,
That's
more
pretty
than
good.
more than three. So
Sleepless. Don't do that, but I don't have a better answer for you.
And replace all your food with cup noodles.
There you go.
Yeah, quick food, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I think setting aside that time is so important. Just to work on, that's like your soul. That's your passion. That's what you want to do. I think for me, like really getting on top of time management was super helpful. There's actually a time management coach at ArtCenter who, I visited religiously. He was so helpful in like helping you just plan out your week and like, okay, you'll do this and this from this hour and this and this and this from like literally every hour on. And I still use a lot of that today. So yeah, I think like for me, the best time that I like to work on personal projects is like towards the end of the day as like kind of a reward for myself after all of my, my other work and all of that. But I think it's really just a matter of like trying to see how you can schedule your time to fit all that in, and then see what times work best for you. Like maybe it won't work best for you to do in the evening. Maybe it works best for you in the morning when you're feeling like bright and peppy. But yeah, I think having that understanding is helpful. I wish that was a jazzier answer, but
it was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, one thing very important I learned from at ArtCenter is knowing how much time it takes for a specific task. for example, I know I need 4 hours for this specific painting, then it makes everything easier, makes it much easier to arrange all the tasks.
Yeah, at Art Center, you don't live, I mean, the way it used to be, you don't live day to day, you live hour to hour.
Mhm.
So week to week, right? It's hour to hour, week to week. Your homework starts this week, it's due next week, but you're not looking, oh, I'll do a little bit today. You got 10 hours to do a little bit here, 5 hours to sleep, you allocate by hours. So that's definitely true. However, I will say the one thing that I learned at Art Center as well is like, which I don't recommend, and I think there's better ways to deal with it, it's just me, is sacrifice sleep for more time. And I to this day, I have not recovered from that. I
Yeah,
get
me
6
too, me
hours,
too.
I get about like
Same
3
for
hours
me.
of sleep a night. It is the way it is, but there's more tools to help out there now, and I think it doesn't have to be.
We really promote self-care at Art Center. We do encourage our students to sleep. We have a Center for Student Experience. We want you to be thriving outside of the studio as well, so don't be scared in the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.